Well, hello and good evening. You're very welcome to EML League 2, the return for 2022. This is round 6, taking place at the Circuit of the Americas for the US Grand Prix. Should be a fascinating contest that we look forward to getting underway in just a few moments. But in the meantime, my name is Graham, and joining me as always tonight, it is Storm. How are you doing?
Yeah, I'm good. Just trying to get the drivers into the lobby, and yeah, we're gonna have fun with the PSN names tonight. I don't know if you've seen Spaghetti Chips is how it's pronounced or even spelt. So yeah, good luck for that one.
Yes, the multitasking Storm. It's been a while. Of course, we last did this. Round 5 was a long time ago in Austria. I don't know how much of it you remember.
None.
To be honest, the only bit I remember is there was some late race shenanigans, I believe, when I think one of the TTG cars, I think, was moved over in the braking zone on to turn 3, and I remember the two TRT cars hilariously and unfortunately coming together, coming out of turn 4. But in case you do need your memory jogged, in the end, for Austria, it was a race that was won by the Reapers for NLR ahead of WTV Basti for CPI, and Ecos Shifters then taking home third that day. So it was a very eventful race around Austria then, and I imagine we're going to be in for something of a similar sort tonight.
Yeah, I think going from one track limits track to another, the drivers must be screaming at EML management because, especially the S's part early on in this track, if you get it wrong, you're going to be picking up quite a few penalties, and especially in the qualifying session, you're going to be picking up quite a lot of invalid laps as well.
To be fair, from that point of view, it should get a little bit easier from here on out, because after this there's Brazil, Italy, Portugal you might have a few, and Abu Dhabi is possible to have a few there. But I feel like the worst of the track limits is once you get this out of the way, I feel like track limits will be, I guess, not out of the question, but you know we should see a fair few amount of them from this after this race tonight.
Yeah, I think the championship will be quite interesting. With whoever wins tonight will be going into the next. Well, I would say next week, but it'll be next month. Yeah, I think being the championship as close as it is, and NLR picking up, the wins they have, like France and Austria. Yeah, I think it's going to be a close one. This race of whoever wins will maybe take the lead of this championship, or certainly get close or put themselves in the mix.
Absolutely. And speaking of, it's been a while since we've seen the standings. Would you like to take us through how things shape up after that entertaining round in Austria?
Yeah, I will do. I will just bear me 1 second. I'm trying to deal with multiple issues as a host. I need to find them. Standings, here we go. Right, so EML League 2 after, I nearly said Russia, Austria, round 5. We've got Neverlast Racing on 167 points. In second, we've got TTG Racing Team with 136 points. In third, we've got Esports Wales Tan with 120 points. In fourth, we've got TRT Academy after what happened in Russia, in fourth with 94 points. Not Russia, Austria, I meant.
Austria.
Yeah. In fifth, we've got OWR Esports with 92. In sixth, we've got QVR Academy with 89 points. In seventh, we've got CPI Academy with 72 points. In eighth, we've got Norway Scuderia, which is with 50 points. In ninth, we've got BNL Racing Esports with 44 points. In 10th, we've got COS Esports with a plus of 31.
So there you go. It's very interestingly poised, because one good race for NLR and maybe a tough one for TTG, and all of a sudden with that gap at now 22 points at the top, one race where it could go either way. NLR takes an advantage, and then all of a sudden you could be talking about a 30 or possibly 40 point gap at the top, and that's a lot of ground to cover in the last 4 races or so. So, big opportunity, yeah. I have to say, for NLR, as well as a big night for TTG to try and claw some of this gap back. So we'll see how that unfolds. And Esports Wales TAM, not too far away themselves, 120 points there, 37 off of NLR at the top, and only 15 off of TTG. So again, look, a couple of bad races here or there, and it is up for anyone's grab, and we've seen that often this season. And in the midfield as well, it's tight between TRT, OWR and QVR, separated by just 5 points, and CPI not a million miles away behind that either. So still plenty of position to be grabbed here in these as the second half of the season gets underway.
Yeah, I do apologise that I'm not talking much. It's just trying to host, and we are missing, I believe, a TTG driver, and it will be an ECOS driver, and also a BNLR driver, because BNLR thought this started at 8:30, and yeah, so we are going to be going in a minute. So, as I've been instructed to start ASAP, so...
So, yeah, we'll quickly go over the lineups as they were submitted to who is taking part tonight. For Team TTG, it is TTG Neymar Mig, who's supposed to be lining up alongside TTG Wolbeek. Again, as always is the case here, any pronunciation errors, please correct me in the comments. I will. I'm not above. I'm not above being corrected on some of these names. For OWR, lineup submitted was OWR Nitten and OWR. We'll go say Viking, because that is by far the easiest part of that username to say.
Yeah. For
QVR is Combi Kermi along with Spaghetti Chips. We'll just be referring to that as Chips, just for simplicity. For BNLR, it's supposed to be BLMR Maxime and BNLR WYB. For NSR Pariah lines up alongside NSR Rogard, I believe. Again, feel free to correct me. For ESW, it is Ivorbin Mike partnered with Old School. Strong lineup there for ESW, looking to take some points today. For ECOS Cameron partners ECOS Menno. And then for a strong lineup, the consistent lineup we've seen for NLR for most of the season is the Reapers that is lining up alongside probably the standout driver. I know it's a team event, but the standout driver, I'd say, has been Felix One. He is partnered with the Reapers in a very strong lineup for NLR. For CPI, it is Nyrox and CPI Marcel, and then to wrap off for TRT, it is TRT Shockers and TRT Sick Boy, is what the lineups were submitted as. And we have a dry qualifying session, but no indication of whether that will be a wet or a dry race. But you'd have to wonder how many, if it is, I do have to wonder if we'll see any split strategies, because track position I do find here to be of pretty critical importance.
Yeah, so 17 drivers, 18 minutes are now on the clock, and we are going to be looking forward to what will be a very different, well, we hope to be a different qualifying session than we have had in more of the previous races, especially I don't know if you remember the Austria race where the two TRT drivers collided turn 4. They'll need to kind of have a bit more communication there tonight. And I think also TTG, only having one driver here, whereas NLR have both drivers here, it may just sway them to pick up more points.
Yeah, big opportunity, not just for NLR, but also for ESW as well. Obviously, look, simple head count, 2 is better than 1. So,
yeah.
And it's a team event, it's a team game. The maths. you start the race with 2 drivers. You got a good chance to, in theory at least. Yes. This track does bite, and literally just on a little warm-up lap here with on an out lap with Pariah, and back end wanted to get away from him heading out of sector 1, and it's going to be one that's that complex heading out of heading towards, after turn 7, heading up the hill to turn 8 and turn 9, little left-hand kink can easily catch drivers out as they try to get on the power as soon as possible, as they try to close it in the DRS detection point for a big back straight. This track will bite, and the barriers aren't. There's plenty of runoff, but the barriers aren't a million miles away to greet you, especially through those S's as well.
Yeah, and also I believe if you like the team liveries that these teams do put together, NSR are using a new livery. So if people do like the liveries, then there's one of the newer ones. I don't know if anyone else has changed theirs, but yeah, that is
I like it.
Their new one.
I like it. I like it. The nice deep blue, and the red goes well with it as well. But we'll go on board with Pariah here to start our first flying lap. He'll be one of many, of course. S section coming up, very tricky one. Takes a little bit of understeers here, heads through the second part of it, but that's a very clean S section for Pariah. Really, you just want to get a lap on the board. It's so easy to invalidate your lap around here. The car wants to get a little bit away from through turns 8 and 9, but he's through, and through turn 10. And deep braking zone of 11. I think that may be his teammate up ahead. Is it possibly to give some DRS slipstream assistance? So that is some nice, nifty teamwork very early on. You don't always see this, of course, but straight away NSR playing this team game, and you like to see that.
Yeah, obviously, I know both NSR guys very well. Obviously, I raced NSR Roygard in our other league, which is TTML, which you can catch throughout the week on League Racing TV, Thursday, Friday, and a Sunday. So, yeah, I know obviously he can produce the results. Also, Pariah, normally a commentator for us, so clearly rooting over him as one of the commentator teams. So, yeah, as he's going to cross the line, and he is going to set a 32.8.
We'll see how quickly that stacks. Combi coming across the line next. He sets a 31.7, so immediately blows that out of the water with 1.1 second difference. And you see TRT chalkers then on medium tyres. A couple setting on mediums. WYB, I think his time on mediums as well. There are only 2 medium runners out at the moment. And with the mediums, I would thought you would want to keep a set fairly flexible, because with safety cars such as that do occur here, as the other TRT car comes across the line to set a sorry, not TRT, excuse me, that's QVR of spaghetti chips to set a 32 flat, and then quickly displaced by Neymar and Felix 1, the ever impressive Felix 1 for NLR 131.6.
Yeah, Felix showing his raw pace that he has. As it looks like Pariah's going to do the same back to his teammate of Roygard and give him that slipstream down, which is quite a long straight, as the Reaps goes in to provisional pole for the moment with a 31.1, and he is 5/10 up on his teammate.
Yeah, comfortably into provisional pole. So again, that's such a big boost for NLR, just to immediately stick two of their cars on the front row, just immediately get those good strong laps in, and you just ease so much of the pressure on yourself the rest of the way, because there are going to be a few drivers, I suspect, that are going to struggle to get a proper or clean lap in. And with track limits and such, you just put so much pressure on yourself to set one up later. But NLR getting that immediately, getting those bankers immediately up there, and that'll only just feed their confidence.
Yeah, of course, and if they're getting the top 2 slots on these banker laps, then they stand in a pretty good chance of maybe getting a front row lockout when we see the final laps coming in the final few moments of qualifying. Of course, we've still got 12 minutes left, so there's a few drivers that haven't set times, obviously with TRT Sick Boy and Marcel, but Marcel goes and puts himself up into P2 with a 31.1, and that is 1 millisecond off of the Reap. So yeah, it's game on.
Absolutely, that's a nice little early wrinkle for sure to do to get that CPI car in the mix of the two NLR cars. And speaking of, Felix did go for a second flying lap. He did improve, but he wouldn't have beaten his teammate, and he's still in third place with 31.3. But did find improvement on that second lap, and especially on the use set of softs. He'll be hoping that there's even more to come when it comes to finding some more time. As look, plenty of drivers. These ultimately are bankers. Everyone is looking just to get their eye in, get a feel for the conditions, how on the limit they can push the car, and we'll see, when push comes to shove. From now, basically until the end of the session, you have no doubt this will be a very different looking grid than, of course, the one you see now.
Yeah, and I have been informed by Prior this race will be a dry race, so we won't be seeing the intermediate tyres or the wet compound tyre. As I think if we had had a wet race or even an intermediate race, I think track limits would have been ever so more fun. As the braking points would have been a lot different. But for me, I find with this track, a dry track is a lot more easier to navigate, especially I believe it's the corner before the really long left turn. I think Nyrox is coming through it shortly. I believe it's in Sector 2 because he's just finished. He's just finished Sector 2. It's Sector 3. I believe, yes, it's this bit here where you can spin the car. Imagine trying not to do that in the rain. So I'm glad it is a dry race.
Yeah, it's one of the few traction zones that can really catch you out, especially with one that it's the nature of the corner really invites a dive down there as well, because the door is very much open when you're fighting side by side with a car, especially if you're continuing a fight from the end of that DRS straight. A lot of that part of the track lends itself to side by side racing, and that corner in particular is inviting to send a dive. But because you're so focused on another car beside you, it can be quite easy to just lose your bearings for a brief moment, and you're not quite focusing on nailing the traction zone, because it wet or dry, it definitely can bite you. So I have no doubt we'll see a few people come a cropper in that part of the track, not only just in terms of struggling with traction, but also we're going to see plenty of side by side action there tonight as well. Just looking on board with Nyrox as well, as he's going on his flying lap. Very clean Sector 1. He's had a bit of traffic to get through, but they all hopped out of the way. But still, it's not the most. It's even though they're complicit, they get out of the way, they cooperate. Never the ideal thing sometimes, because they get out of the way, but you're still very much aware of where they are at all times, and that focus sometimes takes you away from what you need to be doing.
Yeah, and I think as they use the terminology in F1, a gentleman's agreement. And I don't think these drivers sometimes do give it, and I think that you can forget. As Nyrox has a little bit of understeer, he's going to come through the final corner, or two corners should I say. He hasn't invalidated this one, and he is going to cross the line and put himself up into P4, and he is going to be up there with his teammates. So at the moment, it is a NLR and CPI front row and second row.
Yeah, you could tell that was I think by Sector 1 is where you make up a lot of your time. You could tell it was going to be a pretty clean lap, and yeah, very much so for Nyrox there. So good lap from him, 31.5. He's got time now to get back into the pits and back out for another run, but maybe one more run, as everyone out who's kind of on track at the moment, who's maybe just finished the lap, they might have a chance to get back, set a lap and get back out once more. Let's try and see if I can pick up anyone on a lap. Nitton's on a flying lap, I think.
As I will go on board with him as well, as he's going to come through the final corner, as you can still invalidate here, I believe, and he is going to cross the line, and he goes with a 33.3, puts himself in P16. Memo, I believe, has still lagged out of the session. I don't know if he can rejoin, but yeah, not a good day for Ecos, as one driver was updating their game and one has lagged 5 seconds into quali. So yeah, they won't be improving, I don't think, anymore this race on points either. Combi
Kermit coming through the final corner now. Neymar Make just went up to 5th place with TTG. and Combi goes up to third. There, I have to say, the people who I was expecting to see it towards the top here, I am seeing Felix, Theripas, Combi, Neymar amongst the mix, Old School as well. On another flying lap, he's in 7th place, rocking a beautiful, beautiful Irish flag helmet. God, loving that. Irish flag, not the easiest thing to, not the easiest helmet to make nice, I have to say, but that is a stunning recreation. Chalkers, TRT get themselves in the top 5. 131.5. It's very close to that part of the field. From 5th down to 8th, it's very, very tight.
Yeah, and I've had the privilege of having TTG Neymar as a teammate, obviously not in TTML or EML, but yeah, he's one of a kind, you have to say. And when he gets it on the mark, you could see a very special lap from him. I believe he's Danish, so yeah, if you can get the one special lap from him, he may just get pole. He could be one person that could challenge NLR or CPI, maybe in late qualifying or in the race, because his tyre management is ridiculous.
I remember racing alongside him in F1 2020, and he's one of the most improved drivers I have found that's gone from this game, the last game, to this game, and how he's taken on no assists, and yeah, he's come on strides, and when he gets it together, he is a quick driver.
Yeah.
Competition is tough here, like at the top end of this grid, but I've no doubt that he's got the potential to mix it up as well, and TTG are going to need that because he's the only representative for them tonight. They're going to need as many points as they can salvage from him as possible.
Yeah, points here tonight I think will be key, as we are, well, I wouldn't say near the end of the championship, but we have had 5 rounds now, so the standings will obviously start to take more of a shape of who's at the front, who's challenging for the championship, and NLR could still throw this away. They still, it's more of an open championship still, because I believe there's only still 30-point gap at least between first and second. And Esports Wales Tan, they've come in since I've been commentating with you since Spain. They've shown some good results. I know Austria wasn't the one that Ivor Bryn Mike did want, as he got hit by his own teammate, unfortunately. But yeah, they're still up in the mix. TTG is up there. Yeah, so we can't say the championship is written off, but it could get spicy in this race and the coming rounds when we go to them as Spaghetti Chips. I believe that's how you pronounce it. He's invalidated and he's into the pits, so I can't see what the time is left, because 3 minutes 20 as the sector 3 yellow flags were showing. That is the most annoying thing. I don't know why they don't move them.
It's one of the many things that could use an improvement. But I know what you mean. Like, it's we're far enough in the season where our top 3 are that's likely going to be our top 3 in some shape or fashion. But we're not so far in that one bad result here today. NLR have a lead to build. TTG can take it back still. ESW can get in the mix as well. So results this time of season are very important. But as long as it's not a double, it's not like a double DNF for one team and a 1-2 for the other in the same race, then there is ground you can make up. But I just think the consistency that NLR have shown this season and continue to show here today as well is going to make them a formidable force to be dealt with, as they have been all season long.
Yeah, and if you look at it this way, we're at USA this month, and then we're going to 2 very quick tracks with Brazil and Monza. So, it's going to be a situation of where this is like your technical track, where you've got to be really careful of track limits, and then you're going to be going to a very quick track with Brazil in Sao Paulo. We'll see the times in the 1 minute, high 1.5s or low 1.6s, and then obviously the temple of speed, which is Monza, and then we're back to Portugal and then Abu Dhabi. So there will be some heartbreak for some teams, I suspect, where, they don't, necessarily get the results they want. But, yeah, I think tonight could be one of the races where we look back at the season and go, that was the race where the championship may have swayed to that team or to that team. It's a track where it can be make or break.
I think the other thing that is going to be important, even if you have a bad qualifying here, you can recover from it. Whereas the two races you've mentioned, Brazil and Monza, qualifying is going to be so important because it is DRS train central at those two tracks. They are very high speed. There's not a ton of ground to be made up. The strategy is a bit more variety at Brazil, but Monza is mostly the same, and there's going to be a bit of play in the strategy here, I think, today as well. You might see 1 versus 2 stop potentially, although the mediums are a little bit easier to hold these days. But so this, I think if you have a poor qualifying session, this is the track to try and make amends for it, and I think many will have to. Whereas, they might not get so lucky heading forward, but that is for then. For now, it's just the remaining 13 or so seconds. So these are laps that you need to get in. The Reapers is actually going to be the last person to cross the line before checker flag goes off, and he's putting at 30.6. He won't need a second lap after that. Checker flag is now out. The Reapers is taking back that provisional pole position, and the rest will come flying in pretty soon, starting with Nyrox, who's got a QVR car right behind him. He splits the NLRs once again, has Nyrox at 30.9, 5 thousandths ahead of Felix. And TRT Chalkers then is coming next. They'll be coming thick and fast. There's a couple of cars through that middle sector. He goes up to 4th place, 31.1 for Chalkers. That's a good lap for him. Old School coming through as well. He's improving on his time, but not enough to gain any further positions. He stays in 7th place.
Yeah, so this could be a very good night for CPI. Get themselves in a good position, quali, and then get themselves some very good points, hopefully, in the race. Because if I remember, it was a couple of weeks ago now, in Austria, CPI were really doing really well. It was just the safety cars, I think, didn't help them. Because I think was it Marcel and was it Basti? I believe. They were two incredible races for both of them, and they just were so unlucky because of the safety cars, because we had a few of them, because we had the TTG incident, we had the TRT incident, and I think there was one other. So yeah, it was more of an unlucky and unfortunate race for CPI, but they are showing that they have still got the momentum. They still have the belief that they can still go and get maybe a top 4 in qualifying, and it's shown again tonight. They've got a top 5 for both drivers, and maybe if they can get the strategy right, they could be looking on for either 2 podiums or a podium and a top 5. I think the race win is still there, but I think as soon as the Reaps or Felix, depending on which one pulls away, we've seen previously, they can extend that gap. They can really build a gap.
Yeah, they're very good at executing the team game. For CPI, I remember that race in Austria, I think they were both towards the back and at the start of qualifying, or sorry, the start of the race, and then they're able to make their way through with the K-Hawk race that unfolded. But no need for such instances today. They're starting 2nd and 3rd, but it is NLR and the Reapers who start from pole position, a comfortable pole position in the end, with a 30.6. No one massively improved at the end, apart from the top, apart from, you'd say, the Reapers, Nyrox, Felix and Chalkers, but the likes of Combi, Neymar also couldn't find improvement. Ivorbrin Mike had a good improvement. He actually went up to the 9th place, just behind his team. That's a good qualifying session for Ivorbrin Mike, as 2 ESW cars also inside the top 10.
Yeah, so for the race here in Kota, the Reaps takes pole position with a 30.6. Then we've got Nyrox from CPI in 2nd place with a 30.9. In 3rd place, we've got Felix 1 the second NLR driver. So good qualifying from NLR. Then in fourth, we've got TRT Chalkers. Then in fifth, we've got CPI Marcel. In sixth, we've got Combi. In seventh, we've got TTG Neymar. Then in eighth, we've got Old School 3000 or 300s, I say. And then in ninth, we've got ESW Iverbryn Mike. Rounded off the top 10 is TRT Sick Boy. In 11th, we've got Spaghetti Chips. And then in 12th, we've got NSR Pariah. P13, we've got BNLRE Web. And I didn't quite catch the rest of it. I'm not as quick as Iverbryn Mike. Oh, this is cloudy. Cloudy with a chance of rain? Possibly.
You never quite know. There it is, finally. I'm still on PS4, so these loading times are a little bit slower. So, anywho, that is quite overcast, so it wouldn't surprise me if something crept up, but we'll have to wait and see. It is dry to start, so it gives no one qualified in the top 10 on medium, so of course that'll just be soft for everyone inside the top 10, and I have to wonder what the strategy will be from outside. How many might choose mediums? Will we even see one? There's always one sometimes that will go on the hards, but I'd imagine we'll see mediums throughout. The likes of maybe 11th or 12th place wouldn't surprise me if they put on a set of the softs just to keep close to the top 10. Of course, they will be fresh softs, which will give them an advantage in the latter parts of their first stint. So we'll find out in just a few seconds how it is going to go.
Yeah, last time I raced here, I had a very traumatic race here as the weather couldn't make up its mind. But luckily tonight it has, as the rest of the grid was P13 is BNLRE Web, or Wibe, I believe that's how you pronounce it. In P14, NSR Royguard. Then P15 is OWR Viking. And then in 16th is OWR Knitten. I believe that's how you pronounce it. And then in 17th, who is not in the lobby, is Ecos Memo. I just hope that doesn't cause a lobby issue, as he will be starting at the back, but he's not in the lobby as his PlayStation has unfortunately died on him, and I don't think he will be coming back this race, unfortunately. So everyone on the softs except from Spaghetti Chips on the mediums.
Yeah, I'm surprised by the amount of people that have gone for softs. Again, I don't know if that's to indicate anything with the weather, but that is a lot more people, especially at the back. I expect maybe Spaghetti Chips to be on softs himself at 11th, or Pariah in 12th. But to go as far back as the OWR guys, both on softs in 15th and 16th place, I am quite surprised by that. So we'll see what happens. They could do with a good result. Like, OWR are in 5th place on 92 points. They've got a lot of work to do to salvage some good points here from this race from 15th to 16th. As we talked about CPI having a great qualifying session. QVR have got 2 cars inside the top 11, and one does on an Ulster strategy as well. They could lose a fair amount of ground here, could OWR, and of course TRT not only 2 points ahead of them as well. So big race for them to salvage something from this race, which hasn't started yet, of course, but qualifying has left them with a lot of work to do.
Yeah, so we are in Cota for round number 6, so 28 laps here of the Circuit of Americas. We saw Lewis Hamilton and Max Verstappen battle it out earlier on last year, but we're going to have, it looks like, Reaps and Nyrox battling it out on that front row. I'll hand you over to Graham, our lead commentator for this race, for lights out here in Cota.
Long run up to turn 1, steep uphill, wide entry. You will see a few dive bombs, I think, some of them trying their luck, and maybe a few other unfortunate bystanders in the process, but a long way up, so a good start, as always is the case, is key. But to cover that line as well. Often conversation talks about whether pole position should be on the other side of the grid to cover such a wide, you can see the top of the hill there, from a beautiful front wing facing camera of Felix 1, which we'll stay with here. 5 red lights. And away we go. It's a good start for Nyrox. He's going to be right alongside the Reap. Is heading to turn 1. He tries to squeeze him to the inside of the corner. Holds the outside. He's got better traction to launch away, and Felix One's going to be pulled side by side. He's going to get through on Nyrox. So Nyrox had been looking like he was going to take the lead. Falls back down to 3rd. Sweeping through the S's for the first time. The Reapers leads Felix ahead of Nyrox. Chalkers, you got Neymar and Sick Boy squabbling away. Neymar getting back into P7, and but all relatively cleanly through through sector 1.
Yeah, it looks to be all clean at the moment. Nobody really going for a move at the moment. It may maybe the Esports Wales drivers having a look at a few drivers. Oh, there's a bit of kerfuffle going at the back. Mike is dropping down at least 1 or 2 places. That may be because he's getting overtaken. But yeah, as it looks like Roygaard is having to defend, but that seems to be okay. No DRS at the moment for the first 2 laps. Spaghetti Chips has managed to keep on to P11 on the medium, so that'll be quite interesting. But Roygaard is right on his back as Roygaard goes for the move. And is he going to get this done? He's gone for a late move, and it looks like who's going to get the better traction, and they are going to go side by side as Roygaard goes off the track. And yeah, that was a very nearly close, well, not incident, but yeah.
Yeah, we talked about that corner in qualifying as a corner that may invite a dive, and that's exactly what happened there. CPI Marcel looking for a move on Chalkers there. He looks like he's got a bit more of a possible performance advantage at this part of the race. You can see Chalkers just dropping off the back of Nyrox somewhat. You can see the position changes on the left-hand side, and a penalty already flying in for Rogard. So again, we're going to see this often throughout this race. We'll see see if the drivers at the top can contain their penalties, and the one who does may be the one that takes the win in the end. You just don't know how these things will unfold. But that's a great start for NLR. It looked like Nyrox had taken that place into turn 1, but just this, as the replays went over to the left-hand side, he opens up then and takes the long way around. It gets the better traction coming out of turn 1. That's what launched him through, and then Felix is able to do the same thing. See if CPI Marcel is just waiting. Of course, DRS not enabled till next lap, and once it is, and I have to wonder, this is a big sector for Chalkers to stay within DRS himself, because if he falls out of that DRS range, say with anyone that goes tonight, you fall out of that DRS range, you are going to be in trouble.
Yeah, and I believe TLT Chalkers has got past Marcel, so that's crucial there for the championship, of course, because that's extra points for TRT, as Roygaard is really, I think, trying to get past Spaghetti Chips. So the mediums maybe have not been the best choice, but at least Spaghetti Chips is giving his teammate vital information on how long these mediums can last and what the tyre wear and how they feel on this track.
I think he's done well, to be fair to Chalkers and Marcel got very close here coming out of turn 1. That defensive drive from Chalkers has dropped him out of DRS range of Nyrox, and that's going to be big. It's going to be big for Marcel if Chalkers isn't able to get back within. It's going to be difficult to get back within from that range as well, so could be looking at a place made for CPI there. But I think, as I was saying, Spaghetti Chips has done well to keep that P11 where he started on those medium tyres, because the delta, I think, it's certainly sizable, and to keep that track position with softs everywhere around you, I think he's done pretty well. Nyrox is within DRS of Felix, who's not got DRS on his teammate, but he should be safe. It's this move, I think, is going to be the more likely of the two to come about. Let's just quickly, up at front. Will he go for the dive? Oh, he's left his car in there, to be fair, has Nyrox, and cuts the corner somewhat. Sorry to cut away from Chalkers and Marcel there, but position change near the front takes priority. Felix is going to hold in here for the time being. I think Nyrox is pushing the boundaries of a penalty pretty soon. He's cut a few corners there, a few track limits, and gets a little bit wide as Felix sweeps in then to retake that P2 that he only momentarily lost. But CPI Marcel gets ahead then of Chalkers, who seems to be struggling because now he's got Combi Kermi all over the back of him.
Yeah, and Pariah could be helping his teammate here lower down the order, as Pariah is just in front of Spaghetti Chips. But BNL webbed, however you want to pronounce that, is right on the back of Roygaard and has got DRS, but so has Roygaard on Spaghetti Chips. He is a QVR driver, I believe, as Mike is into the pits. So first driver in the pits is either been Mike, and I believe that's for possibly a wing change, or is that a strategy call from Esports Wales?
I have to imagine it would be a wing change, and indeed the wing is being changed. That's a shame for Mike. He started very well in the top 10 there, and then race started and just fell backwards quite a bit. But 2 seconds is the gap between the Reapers and Felix 1 again. Team game being played very nicely here, and I'm not sure if Felix is going to be able to hold on to this one this time. Much earlier down the straight, Narc is going to get this move done, and at least no, the car has been split once again by a CPI car, but at least the difference this time is the Reapers has a 2-second gap in which to save a bit of tyres and feel a bit more comfortable in his challenge for this this victory. So Nyrox is through. We'll see if Felix then can stay within his DRS and mount a comeback maybe the following lap.
Yeah, it is looking very interesting at this top, as they are going to probably be switching and changing quite a few times, as Roygaard is the first driver to pick up a penalty for track limits, I believe that is. So Mike goes for the medium, so that is going to probably be a 2-stop, being this early on in the race, because I don't think their mediums will last that long, as Chalkers and Combi are battling on lap number 5. Side by side through turn 1 and 2, and through the S section. Who's going to back out? Who's going to commit? Oh, Combi has to go across the chicane there. And will he have to? He's have to get that position back. He hasn't really given it back, so to speak. It takes the lasting advantage in the contact between the two, and again, so getting very feisty between these two drivers. To be fair, I thought perhaps Chalkers might lose the back end and come into Combi there, coming out of turn 1, but that wasn't the case with these two. Oh, you know, you bang a couple of times, and you bang a couple of more, and you don't get too many of those before someone comes off second worst. But we'll come back to that, as Felix then coming back at Nyrox, and he kept within the DRS, he kept within the range, and he goes down the inside to take that place back from Nyrox. Can he hold us? Yes, positioned his car very nicely, and Felix then back ahead. And this is all this is doing, is allowing the Reapers to escape even further up the road. That gap now is only 3 seconds. Yeah, I think this type of track does provide the more overtakes, especially the more risky overtakes, as the drivers can go for the more riskier dive bomb, and hopefully it does come off. But yeah, it will be interesting these first 10 laps, I think, especially up until we get the pit stop strategy for the soft runners. As somebody in front, I think it's as Chalkers has been overtaken by Combi, as Sick Boy and Old School are battling. That's TRT versus ESW. So, and I believe the owner of TRT is Irish. So that's the battle of the Irish and the Welsh. So that's going to be an interesting one, as Sick Boy loses the position up, as Old School puts himself up in the P8 on 5-lap softs.
I wonder if the two CPI cars might think about switching if they feel someone has a better shot at Felix here, but saying that, Nyrox again, it looks like he's going to swap places again here early on the DRS straight. He is going to just use that overspeed just to sail by Felix, as not quite sail by Felix into the braking zone, keeps it, but it's going to allow I thought Nyrox might go for the move heading down into that right-hander, but again he's bottlenecking his teammates somewhat here. Now they're lucky they've got a 2.5 second gap to play with. We just saw Chalkers there just overtook Combi there on that DRS straight as we were watching Nyrox and Felix go side by side. So these two squabbling is helping CPI a little bit. They have options available to them. They've got 2 drivers to attack this one NLR driver, but the problem is, again, as it has been throughout the early phases of this race, is that the Reapers continues to extend his advantage at the front. It's now 3.6 seconds, and we've got people into the pits. Combi and Neymar and Old School are into the pits to get rid of their saucy. End of lap 6.
Yeah, so pit stops now being made for the medium compound. We won't see the hards unless it's, somebody has some serious pace on the hards. Not a lot of tracks use the hard tyres, unfortunately. We don't get to see the white wall tyres. So the Pirelli tyres are the soft, the medium and the hard, which is the C2, the C3 and the C4. The soft compound tyre is the fastest tyre available to the F1 drivers, or the drivers here in the virtual world as well. They are the fastest, but they do provide the less grip, and they do where quite quickly. Then you've got the medium tyre, as I'm going to be interrupted as Nyrox is going to go for the move. It looks to be on Felix, and it looks like that is Nyrox up to P2.
He's up to second place. Yellow flag sector 2, I think that is. It's either been Mike who is spun. And I wonder, have CPI missed a chance to box and try and undercut Felix? They had 2 cars in which to do it. We've seen a couple of drivers pit that last lap. I wonder if Felix now will pit this lap as well, get the jump. I wonder if CPI may have missed an opportunity to get one of their cars in to box. Will they do it now? No, another one passes them by. So they all of them, top 4, continue to stay out, as does Chalkers and Sick Boy as well. The others that did pit, Combi, Neymar, Old School, they are on, as a Parai comes into the pits, they are in clear air. Well, Neymar is in clear air. Combi is stuck behind the TTG car in 14th place. Spaghetti gets by Sick Boy for P6 on those mediums. Those mediums now begin to show their superiority compared to the aging softs.
Yeah, as just reading through the chat, it's great to see that we have the support here for the drivers. 19 viewers in the chat. It seems that we've got a lot of love for NLR and CPI as they battle it out. It seems to be here for the race win and the podium places. But don't count out TRT Chalkers. He is in P5. Obviously, pit stop strategies could go either way, especially if you are the leading team. You know, it depends when you decide to make the pit stops and etc. As Felix is still on the back of Nyrox, but then CPI Marcel is also on the back of Felix 1. So yeah, this is where it's time to make your money, as they say. You know, show us what you got and prove what you're worth as well. So yeah, this is going to be some very crucial laps, and like you said, if a team wants to go for the undercut now or wants to make a pit stop, they're going to have to think this more strategically than they would normally if they were racing individually on their own for like a drivers' championship, where you know they were fighting for a place in that championship.
Nyrox staying out as well. Felix top. Most of the top are staying out. But interesting that Felix decided to just file in behind Nyrox there, and he's got over 50% ERS, whereas Nyrox has only got 20%. And again, Marcel's in a good spot with 71% of his ERS. But of course, they can't switch the cars because there's an NLR in between. So that's a bit of management going on for Felix and Marcel. But we'll see now if this is the lap that maybe Felix decides to try and take that position back. Again, I'm a little surprised that CPI haven't. Because separation of this track is so key. You want to just, with an undercut, you can gain so much separation and figure the rest out later. Because obviously we've seen with this DRS, has an effect. And yes, this is the lap that Felix will take this place back. Not even having to use any of his ERS stores. He keeps it at 50%. And, Marcel came very closely into the back of his teammate there. We've got a position change here. That is WYB. He gets by Sick Boy then. That is for P7. And these are the last of the drivers who haven't made a stop that are still in this session. And Chalkers is out. He's lost the traction heading just before that left hander that we've talked about so often in this race. Now, will this bring out a safety car? This would be perfect timing for everyone that isn't the Reapers. That happened at turn 15, coming out 14 and 15. Felix isn't taking a chance. He comes into the pits. The 2 CPI cars continue, but no safety car or VSC for that matter is deployed.
Yeah, the game not thinking it's too risky, and I believe that will be a no safety car or no virtual safety car. So the drivers will continue to race here as Felix is into the pits. So the first one to, as they say in the boxing, has thrown the first punch from their side, and that's NLR Felix as he is into the pits.
And he's come out ahead of that Combi Old School Neymar kind of gaggle that boxed early, so that's worked out well for Felix. He hasn't lost a ton of time on those softs, and he's got a nice clear track in front of him to let these mediums go. That has worked out very nicely for him. Of course, the same would be, well, actually I was going to say the same would be true for the Reapers, but actually he'd be very close to that WYB and Sick Boy on those old on those old softs, he would have been really put in a tough spot as safety car come out there, because he had already gone past the pits, and the others were, of course, just approaching it. But I don't think it was a bad decision for Felix. You never quite know when the timing of these things is going to be thrown, and could have easily have been a situation where he had to do it then. But no safety car deployed, and we continue on our merry way. Old School is just being passed by Pariah, who's put on fresh softs for the second stint. So that's definitely confirming another stop for Pariah. He's going to try and make these work. I hope for a safety car to come out as Nyrox then comes into the pits from P2.
Yeah, so Nyrox getting the preferred treatment, it looks like, from the CPI team, as he is going to box for the medium compound tyre, as there's a few drivers behind him, as well as Sick Boy and Webb are into the pits. Yeah, so Pariah probably going for a 2-stop as Felix goes past, so Felix will still be in front of Nyrox, and it looks to be it is going to be a CPI and NLR battle for the race win or a podium place, and that could be crucial for the championship. I know CPI aren't as close as they would like to be to NLR. If they can get themselves on a podium or 2 podiums, depending on which way it swings at the end of the race, could be very crucial to them, because I don't think they're very far away from other teams in front of them, especially with TRT now losing 1 driver. They're only going to score potentially points with 1 driver, so yeah, it's a very big day for CPI in scoring points, as they could get a nice haul of points.
Combi Kermit decided not to go for the move there on Neymar. I was talking about loss of traction for Neymar coming out of that turn 12, and that allows Combi then to come through as the Reapers comes into the pits. I talked about separation earlier on, and that 1 lap that Felix pitted before Nyrox has landed him a 2-second lead over Nyrox, and having been spent the first 10 laps DRSing back and forth, again you just have to get in to create that separation. With 1 lap extra tyre wear, I don't think it's going to make a ton of difference in the grand scheme of things. And now Felix can breathe so much more comfortably as Marcel comes into the pits as well. Felix can breathe so much more comfortably now, and as Marcel is going to come behind. He's going to come out behind. He's going to join right into this Neymar and Combi fight. He's very fortunate to come ahead of just come ahead of those 2. That could have been disastrous for CPI and Marcel, but that's the problem, and CPI have missed the trick there to get in early, because now Nyrox is nowhere near DRS range of Felix, and Marcel very nearly came out in a lot of traffic.
Yeah, and I think if we get 1 penalty from the top 4, could play a contributing factor into maybe who finishes where, because they are so close. 1 mistake and it's game over. We saw it with Chalkers. He was doing so well. He was P5, and that 1 slip and it's over. So yeah, the drivers are going to have to be careful on these new mediums, because they are going to take a few laps to get warm and to get up to where they want them to be. And
like we talked about undercutting. I mean, the Reapers was about 5 seconds clear, and now I think he's actually I think he's getting off the throttle. I think he's trying to get his teammate within DRS to drag him along. It's a very clever ploy by the Reapers and NLR, just to use that DRS to pull it along. And of course, you're not pulling anyone else along, because Nyrox and CPI Marcel are out of that DRS range. So extremely clever work here from NLR. We'll see if they can actually pull an advantage from us. At the moment, the gap between Felix and Nyrox is 1.6 seconds. See how much Marcel has lost in that. Again, 1 or 2 lap extra that he stayed out. He's nearly 4 seconds. Now, he did have a squabble coming out of the pits, but he's nearly 4 seconds behind Nyrox as well. So we'll see how much time these NLR drivers do gain on the straight. It could be a case, alternatively, that Felix might struggle in the dirty air of the Reapers, and that seems to be inviting Nyrox into the fray, though. I think, you gotta use your ERS here, because these are important laps, because once you get in that DRS, it's gonna be difficult to get them back out again. That's why I talk about the separation at the pit stops, because it's so hard to shake DRS here. Yeah, DRS is a little part of where they can
try and gain this 1.6 gap, but he's going to have to be under 1 second to even get the DRS. And at the moment, Felix has played the pit stop strategy to perfection because he has that breathing gap. He's got around about a 6/10 gap before any sorts of Nyrox even attempting to use DRS. So yeah, this is perfect strategy at the moment for NLR.
Still holding the lead at the front. We saw a little change of position there for Sick Boy and WYB. Old School coming into the back then of Pariah, who's soft. So I'd probably just begin to leave him a little bit now this part of the race. I've been interested in watching Neymar Mig and Combi Kermi on the track. They're very close to each other, as they have been for a fair amount of this race so far. But interesting that Combi sitting on 60% ERS, Neymar just on 30 or so percent. And heading down that back straight, he's not... If he wanted to go for that move, Combi, he could. But I wonder if he just wants... I don't know if they're kind of set in those positions for the moment. Of course, you have Spaghetti Chips to pitch from the lead. But this is effectively net P5 and 6. And, they have Pariah and Old Sauce behind them. Old School's got a penalty behind that. I can't but wonder, without a safety car, this is their race. This is what they're fighting for. It's fighting for P5 at the moment, unless they can really close in that gap. But they're a far cry away from the leader's pace. And I wonder, it's just Combi's biding his time. He knows that Neymar's not going to get away from him. And just playing a patient game.
Yeah, it seems to be a patient game this evening. As Spaghetti Chips is still leading this race, as Old School and Pariah are battling, it seems to be at the moment, and Pariah has dropped down to P9 with Old School in to P8, and it looks like Viking and Roygard are battling further behind the grid as well, at the back of the grid, should I say.
The leaders have now caught Spaghetti Chips, who's on those old mediums. Need to clear him ASAP, because they have actually extended the gap to Nyrox at 2.5 seconds, so this DRS strategy seems to be buying them time, but they are catching a car who's yet to pit in a bad place of the track to catch, as Pariah then pits 5 laps is all he managed on those soft compound tyres. That's not ideal, nor is this. We'll see how much this affects. The gap was 2.6 between Felix and the Reapers. I imagine that's going to come down. They are lucky in the sense that it wasn't what it was when they started this tactic, like at 1.6, 1.7. If it was, they could have been in real threat of DRS. They haven't lost too much, and they're lucky not to have lost too much time in the grand scheme of things. They both should get by Spaghetti Chips heading down this back straight.
Yeah, I just wonder, looking at this race now as it stands, ERS may just be something that the drivers have, because I'm looking at Nyrox and he's literally got no ERS at all. So I wonder if it might be just worth him, not using it and let it recharge for a couple of laps, and then when he gets closer to Felix, if he can, then he'll have that full deployment of using that and DRS, and he's going to get the move done quickly as possible. But at the moment, he's got to get cleared of Spaghetti Chips, who is in P3. Yeah,
see, now they're going to have to deal with... Nyrox got to deal with what the two NLR cars just had to deal with. Felix also very low in his ERS, but I think it's just to maximise the straight line speed, and Nyrox is trying to offset some of that by using his own. It was always going to be a tough spot for him, like when the Reapers fell back, and to give this Felix that DRS, it is going to be difficult for him, for Nyrox to live with that, because that's a long straight. These are two decently sized straights, that back one being particularly long, and to have that extra boost with that rear wing deployment, that's difficult to live with, and that has proved to be the case. And he's not even within DRS here of Spaghetti Chips, so who actually might even keep DRS himself on these front two, and that will only add further injury. Has it? No, he got briefly within under a second, but not by the detection point. But no DRS then for Nyrox. This is not going to be helping him, being trapped in that air, and just allows the Reapers and Felix just to escape ever so further out of his grasp.
Yeah, it's looking like it could be a podium and a P4 for CPI, but that's still good points though, as I think the gap that NLR have now is they just seem to be on another level, and yeah, they are just pulling that gap away, and especially they can use each other as a DRS. But we can't still count CPI out. They can still pull this back, as it looks to be Nyrox is going to get the move done on Spaghetti Chips for P3.
Yeah, and a good place to get that move done as well. He's lost as little time as possible to make that move, whereas NLR was stuck in Sector 1 here behind that car. So that's worked out nicely for Nyrox. He's gained a little bit of time in all that, you'd have to say, maybe about 4/10 or so. So that's worked out well for him. He's still, like I said, he's still in the hunt here, and he's still within a penalties range. And of course, that that changes the game completely. If one of those NLR cars gets a penalty, then all of a sudden we're looking at a different race here. He's still in that range, so not over by any means. And CPI Marcel isn't a million miles away either. So all to play for still, as we've just hit lap 17. You were speaking actually just to the strength of NLR there, and I think what's really helped them is not just on track but off track. Of course, they've really they've helped. Like obviously we've seen these two drivers for the entire season. Essentially, I think one race where I think Felix may not have been able to make it, but this has been their lineup for most of the season, and it's been consistent. Whereas Team TTG have had a few drivers come and go, and they've had a little bit of driver turnover, and now you can see how that's affecting their their championship right now on this round. They have swap of position. Felix has been let go by the Reapers, so an interesting swap there. I wonder what has been the thought behind swapping them there. The Reapers has seemed the quicker driver through pretty much all of the events so far, so interesting that. Very odd that, because now you got Nyrox there, who's just within. He's very close to that in DRS range of Felix. So I wonder what the motivation was to swap those. Very interested to well, I assume we won't find out, but very interesting that they swapped them there.
Yeah, as Spaghetti Chips is now into the pits to do the one stop here. So it's going to be 10 laps on the softs, and I wonder if he's going to maybe get a few positions up in more into the points. It could potentially help his teammate Combi in these final 10 laps, as he is going to be on the fresher soft compound tyre, and Felix and the Roops are now switching positions, so they are going to use that DRS to the advantage.
And NLR just in the chat saying that Felix has missed the one race, the Reapers wasn't there for the first 3. It feels like he's been here for the whole season, but maybe that's just me. Appreciate NLR though, like the channel. They've been active in the comments throughout all these races, so shout out to them. Nice to get a little bit of insight as well. Not all teams are active in some of these races, but it's nice to see them active. Certainly in the chat, so, and to everyone of course who's tuning in as the Reaper sets the fastest lap of the race there. It is a fine line here, because that gap was about 2 seconds, and obviously it's as Neymar comes into the pits then. Wow, so Neymar pulled the trigger on those mediums, 10 laps on those mediums, and he's in. That is somewhat of a surprise. He's the first one to bite here.
Yeah, as I was getting shown yellow flags in Sector 2 and Sector 3, they have cleared, and I believe that may have been one of the OWR drivers.
So Neymar coming out on softs. Where is the NSR2? The two NSR cars, he's going to put him ahead of those. So what, 10 laps including the one we're on for Neymar to make up, how far would you say he's behind Combi? 17 seconds? I wonder, because of course Combi, like Neymar, came in these are the first stops, and that is sadly not going to help any comeback for Neymar. There is probably immediately been dashed with that 3-second penalty. But if I was Nyrox, I'd be thinking about it. I'd be thinking about a 2-stop, because I don't think anything's going to change up here. I think if they continue as are, we haven't seen a safety car so far despite a crash. The gap is back up to over 2 seconds now between Nyrox and Felix. I cannot but wonder if he put on softs, he'd probably make most of those places back. The problem is, if the Reapers and Felix's tires were the same age as Combi's and Neymar's, I would really consider if I was Nyrox to pit for the softs, because there's a nice margin for him to do so, and he'd overtake those cars fairly easily. He's shown he's got pace, he's got a good amount of time. He'd have the considerably fresher and superior rubber. So I think even if he did pit, I think he'd be able to, you know, obviously it's a team event, so I don't think the result would change too much between CPI. You know, I think they still finish at least third and fourth, even if Nyrox did make that stop. I don't know. I'd be considering in these next few laps. There's a right old scrap here for 6th, 7th, 8th, and 9th between Sick Boy, Spaghetti, and WYB. Let's get the interval back on. That was, of course, Spaghetti Chips making some very good progress here on the softs, as you would expect. A top 6 possibly in the offing here for Spaghetti Chips. He's had a nice quiet stint, hasn't he? And it's paying off for him now.
Yeah, I think it's looking like it is going to be a P1 and P2 for NLR, but we've still got 8 laps to go. Anything can happen, and yeah, maybe we may just get Nyrox to close up that gap, as Spaghetti Chips and Sick Boy are battling for P7, as Iron Mike gets a 3-second time penalty.
There's a real chance for Spaghetti Chips to get Combi here. He's under 5 seconds behind Combi, and I think it's very much in play. His softs will easily go to the end. They might not be great at the end, but you know, end of the race, less fuel on board, less load, in theory should help some of that tyre wear compared to obviously the start of a stint. Just by keeping it clean, and those mediums really, the alternate strategy seems to have really worked out. We'll see how Spaghetti Chips fares. Of course, Old School has a penalty, so that won't be an issue. But a real chance to get inside that top 5 for Spaghetti Chips would be a great result for QVR, with Combi obviously in 5th as well. So, yeah.
Oh, yeah. So Spaghetti Chips getting himself back up the order. Good race for QVR. If Spaghetti Chips can clear Old School, Spaghetti Chips could offer some support to Combi to, well, the gap to Marcel and Combi is 12 seconds. But what a way it would finish this fantastic race so far. We'd have the top 2, the top 6 positions filled by 3 different teams if Spaghetti Chips can get past Old School, and that time is coming down to now 1.6.
Coming down very quickly. I didn't see if he took fastest lap. No, the fastest lap still belongs to the Reapers, a 34 flat on those mediums. So I wonder if maybe he's pushing his luck a little bit there with the track limits there, but yeah, coming down quickly. So P5 possibly there, and yeah, some great results for some. Like, in theory, we could have an LR 1-2, CPI 3-4, and a QVR 5-6 at this rate. So some very solid team performances to be had here today. Some teams will be very happy. Some will not be as happy, but certainly, of course, there is still a ways to go yet. Anything can, of course, happen, and if it usually can happen, it usually will.
Yeah, as it looks like Spaghetti Chips is going to be closing ever so close to Old School for P6, and this will help QVR in the championship as well. As Nyrox gets a 3-second time penalty, and I mentioned earlier, one penalty could change. So at the moment it won't, because Combi is 13.4 behind Marcel, but yeah, that's not something Nyrox wanted.
Yeah, that'll send any victory hopes, I'm afraid, away. But like you say, he's got margin. Obviously, it's his teammate behind him, and Combi is a long way back now. So yeah, that doesn't change anything other than the fact that it just essentially confirms a win for NLR, unless they come together somehow. But again, that we touch on wood. Spaghetti Chips then moves by Old School into P6, and his teammate in front. Little round off, a very nice day for QVR. Very solid performance for their 2 drivers. Although I am curious to see, the gap between Combi and Neymar is about just over 11 seconds, I would say. So I don't think Neymar is making up enough ground to get back to where he was when he boxed, when he was in front of Combi. So might be regretting that one. But I know TTG wanted to throw a dice or two. They had one card. Probably felt like they have to try something to get in amongst the mix as a QVR swap cards into turn 1.
Yeah, it seems to be that it is getting ever so close to be an NLR win here this evening. But CPI, you can't say they didn't give a fight, because they did give a fight, but it wasn't a big enough fight to give NLR any doubt at all of losing that race lead, or even P2, as Nyrox has a penalty. CPI Marcel in P4 comfortably, as Spaghetti Chips has got past his teammate, so maybe going to try and close that 15-second gap down as much as possible. But I think that is going to be P5 and P6 for QVR today. But that is a good result. They still can take good points away from that. But yeah, NLR playing to their actual team name, which is Never Last Racing, and they're not last at the moment. They are in P1 and P2. And if you're an F1 fan and you do like Sebastian Vettel, then for the Reaps at the moment, it is P1. And yeah, it is looking like it is going to be an NLR P1 and P2, unless somehow, by some miracle that somebody doesn't like NLR, they have multiple penalties or something, or a DNF, then yeah, I think we're set on cards for an NLR 1-2, unless Nyrox can close that gap and make 3 seconds. But that is looking unlikely at the moment, as he is 1.5 seconds behind Felix, as they are coming through what would be the DRS zone, but Nyrox isn't close enough.
Yeah, they've given it a good run. Have CPI today. Yeah. They definitely have. Until that penalty popped up for Nyrox, they were within distance. They were there and there enough. It's just NLR have had an answer for, not only pace-wise, but with the strategy as well and their teamwork. They've had every answer they've needed to today, and on course to take full points, because they do have fastest lap, I believe, as well. Yes, the Reaper still holds out. I suspect someone might pitch soon enough to displace that, maybe down the order, perhaps. Stickboy and WYB have been going at it for a fair amount of laps now. Stickboy taking P8 for TRT. And that battle's been going on for a while. And tell you what, Old School might be looking to put some pressure on Combi, who might be better off just perhaps allowing him to go. Same lap, old tires, but there's a penalty that Old School has. Again, I am biased, but that is Irish helmets, generally speaking, are not pretty things, because the colour schemes don't work for a lot of helmets. But I have to say that is a work of art. So yeah, sorry, that's my my helmet nerd out for the day.
The lucky Irish.
Actually, the second one I did it in qualifying, didn't I? So. But he's close to breaking up this QVR 5-6, but again, that penalty would actually still cost him P7 at the moment, with Sick Boy just still under that 3-second range.
Yeah, just reading through the comments, I love the banter or the comments between CPI and NLR, with their drivers battling here for the podiums and, well, the top 4 of this race. Yeah, it would be nice to have NLR just slow it up a little bit so we can have a bit of racing in the final few laps. But yeah, it looks like NLR are not going to stop here tonight, and they are on a full throttle for that race win and the the first of the podiums in P2. But yeah, it would be nice if Reaps and Felix just slow down a little bit, maybe like 5 or 6 tenths, so we can get some exciting racing at the end. But nonetheless, this race has been absolutely fantastic up and down the grid, especially for Kota. It has been a fun track to commentate. I think if we'd have had a wet race, I would have put my money on Felix getting the race win. I would have absolutely nailed on Felix for a wet race win. But unfortunately, the heavens haven't given us the rain tonight. They've given us a dry track. And it is going to be 2 laps now left of this race here in COTA. Circuit of America's 28 laps of a 100% race, a 50% race, should I say, where we saw Max Verstappen and Lewis Hamilton battle it out earlier last year, where Max Verstappen did win the Drivers' Championship. I know that may be a few controversial words there for a few F1 fans, but it seems to be that the Reaps is getting ever so close to the race win. But Nyrox is now under the DRS range for a DRS activation, so this could be interesting.
It'd be interesting if he happened to collide with one of them, because you gain a place that way. But to be honest, I don't think he gets within DRS if he has that penalty. So I think there is a bit of management, maybe some sort of gamesmanship going on at the front here. But I have to say, as old school and Combi are exchanging places, because I think they've been distracted by the ghost car of Menno in front there. I do wonder, Nyrox has that penalty. CPI Marcel's had a pretty quiet race, I have to say, in the second stint here. I just wonder, as perhaps Nyrox haven't looked down the inside for Felix. Not quite. I do wonder if Nyrox knows he's being toyed with slightly here, because that's what it would feel like to me, especially with the 1-2 at the front. With one driver, fair enough. See Felix backing up a little bit in that sector, and maybe pushing a little bit of luck, because Nyrox might feel so inclined to walk down one of these doors, and a door might close and Felix might struggle. But certainly you're going to see a change of place here, because maybe Felix is genuinely struggling, but Nyrox is going down the inside. They will both have DRS, of course, coming off of the car in front, but change of place, it won't mean anything in terms of the race result, but it is nice side-by-side action. So you're getting your wish here for some side-by-side action at the front. Very close margins given. Nyrox is not given a lot of space to... we go down the inside. He's going to make contact with Reapers. No, not quite. Very, very close. But gloves are off at the front here. So the race may be finished in terms of, there's a penalty for Nyrox here, but they're certainly giving their all to end this race.
Yeah, fair play and respect to Nyrox. He's not given up. He wants to get the on-track race win, and he could get it, as he is now within DRS range of the Reaps. As you can, he had a look going into the last corner. He's going to get DRS. He's literally pushing the Reaps' car. He's going to go for it, I think. I know he won't win it on the track because of track penalty, unless on this...
he's hit him. He's hit him. Goes wide. I think he might have damage. I'm not sure. I didn't see anything fly off the car. The wing looks okay from that point of view, but he might still have some damage. More contact. That was very, very close. Front to rear at that high speed. That could have easily ended up with either of them flying into the wall there. They can count themselves lucky, Felix and Nyrox, that they haven't come worse. Those tyres do look awful, I have to say. Especially on Nyrox's car. I know Felix has the older tyres of the two, but those in particular, that right front looks really poor from Nyrox. So I think that's our excitement over and done with. But that was hairy. That was much closer than it needed to be for those NLR chaps. I don't know if they were genuinely struggling with tyres there at the end, but that was a risk they could have definitely avoided taking. Felix could have easily ended up on the wall just now.
Yeah, and also a quick mention, NSR Pariah will at the moment take the fastest lap, so he will take the extra point home to NSR Esports. So yeah, he is the fastest man or female on this evening's race, as the two CPI drivers have switched positions. But it is now coming through the final few corners, and it's been an epic race between NLR and CPI, and it is going to be the Reaps who takes the provisional race win here, with Felix One backing him up as his wingman this evening, and that is NLR P1 and P2, with CPI and Marcel rounding off the podium place in P3, with Nyrox also from CPI in P4. then it is going to be, I believe, Spaghetti Chips in P5 when he crosses the line. And that is him up into P5. Old School will drop a place, the P7, and he is going to be...
Oh! Sorry to interrupt. Combi absolutely binned it coming off of the last corner. He missed out. He missed out on Old School by 0.3 of a second. He was within that range, but he was squabbling away on that last lap with Sick Boy and WYB and missed out. So Old School keeps that position after all.
Yeah, as there is going to be a few position changes. Oh, as Neymar gets the fast lap on the last lap. So Lando, scenario 7 there. Yeah, as Sector 3 is showing the flags, as I believe somebody has binned it on the line. And I wonder if OWR Kitten is going to go up a few places. No penalties on a track where it is quite notorious for penalties. And he jumps his teammate, and that is the race concluded here as we head now to the race results here. But it is an NLR 1-2 with the Reaps and Felix 1 taking the P1 and P2, and that is the maximum points there for NLR. But don't count out CPI. They gave a fight, but unfortunately NLR gave the knockout blow in the final rounds, and that is going to be some big points going over to NLR, but also some big points to CPI, who finished P3 and P4 despite Nyrox getting a penalty.
So, excellent result for NLR. They really cleaned up, both in qualifying and in the race. They executed that very, very nicely. I can't help but feel what I was going to say before. Nyrox got close there. We'll just run through the standings very quick, the results very quickly. The Reapers finished ahead of Felix 1 there for NLR. Had CPI Marcel, who swapped on the last lap with his teammate Nyrox. Then Spaghetti Chips, excellent alternate strategy, got himself up to 5th place for QVR. Old School then managed to hold out then in 6th place ahead of Combi Kirby in 7th. Sick Boy then finished in 8th. WYB then in 9th. Neymar 10th. Pariah 11th. Rogard 12th. Knitten 13th. Viking 14th. And then Ivor Bryn Mike a lap down in 15th. And then Menno didn't really get a chance to race in this one. And Chalkers then our only DNF of the race. I was going to say before that Nyrox stuff happened with the NLR boys at the end there.
Yeah.
The one thing I keep coming back to, and especially now, now they swapped at the end there, and it was Marcella finished ahead of Nyrox in the end. I can't but wonder. Do you remember back at the early part of, or not the latter part of the first stint, where you had the 2 CPI cars versus the 1 NLR Felix, and then we saw how much Felix gained on the undercut. I can't but wonder if that was CPI's chance to get ahead of one of those NLR cars with either Marcel or with Nyrox. They didn't take it, and then look, the tires looked pretty awful at the end there. So you do have to debate whether you get the 2-stop range, but we saw how much one lap made a difference. I can't but wonder if maybe they think to themselves, we maybe should have taken an undercut opportunity. Not to be, they still pick up a very handy result, but with how close they were at the end there, and they were close throughout. Marcel wasn't a million miles away either. He didn't have DRS, which obviously didn't help him, but I can't but wonder. They were there. I think NLR on balance deserved to take that win, but CPI very close.
Yeah, so that is this race finished for round number 6 in COTA. But don't go anywhere, as at 8:30 the Premiere race qualifying and race will be starting with TTG James Head and ESW Ivor Bryn Mike, where we see the fastest of the fastest go and battle it out in COTA for the EML Premier. But we'll be back also tomorrow on League Racing TV with TTML F2 and F3 for the season finale in Singapore, where the championship in S3 has been wrapped up, but that Constructors' Championship is still up for grabs. And then F4 and F5 will be taking to Singapore on Friday, and then on Sunday we'll see F1 round off the season there for Singapore, and then we'll be back in a month's time for the Brazilian Grand Prix. But if you do want to keep up with all the action, then do hit that subscribe button on League Racing TV, where you can catch all of TTML, EML, CWC and other leagues as well and other races. But until next time, it's been a pleasure to commentate with you again, Graham, and hopefully we will see you in Brazil.
Take care.